In 1961, President Kennedy called on all Americans to rise to the challenges of the day. He knew that success depended upon the unity of efforts throughout the federal government and the nation. The Greater Boston Federal Executive Board, one of 28 across the country, fosters communication, coordination, and collaboration with federal, state, and local government agencies. This is your federal government, and I am your host, Diane LeBlanc. Hello, everyone. Today we are featuring the Small Business Administration. Our guests are Robert Nelson, District Director, Nadine Boone, Lead Business Opportunity Specialist, and Eli Spayu, Lead Lender Relations Specialist. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Hi. Wonderful to be here with you, Diane.
Director Nelson, I want to start with you. We're going to do some introductions of everybody, but tell our viewers how long you've been with the Small Business Administration and a little bit about your background.
Sure. I've been with the SBA for about 20 years now, and I've been the state director now for about 10. And before the SBA, I did work for the Federal Deposit Insurance Corp, and before the FDIC, I was a commercial lender and a banker. But I can tell you that I absolutely love working for the SBA, helping small businesses to start and to grow. We get to see our impacts almost daily as we're driving around neighborhoods and up and down the street. So wonderful to be here with you.
Excellent. Thank you. Nadine, your background?
Diane, good morning. Thank you for having us here, the Small Business Administration Massachusetts office here this morning. I've been in Massachusetts now for a little bit more than 2 years. However, I've worked for the Small Business Administration for 19 years. Arrived here a couple of years ago from the metropolitan DC area, leading our lending division and now our government contracting division, as well as our marketing and outreach divisions.
Excellent. Eli?
Yes, great to be here. Thanks for having us. Great opportunity to talk about the SBA as an agency, my life's calling, as I call it. I am a lender by trade. I've worked in the private sector as a commercial lender for numerous years. I did all sorts of lending, including residential mortgage lending, commercial lending. I worked with the retail banks. I worked as a financial planner for a number of years. And then a couple of years ago, I joined the agency. It's 2 years and counting now. So it's truly been great working with small businesses and definitely making an impact here in the Commonwealth. So
nice.
Wonderful.
Excellent. All right. So you prefer Bob, Robert?
Bob, please.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So you are the district director here in Massachusetts. Tell folks, what does that mean? What is your mission? Why does the Small Business Administration exist?
Sure. So the SBA, we're an agency of the federal government. We've been, we're into our 65th year now, and the whole purpose of the SBA is to foster, preserve, and to promote the interests of small business, to help strengthen the economy, to help create jobs. And it really is important work. We're a small agency, but we have a huge impact on the economy when you figure that 98% of all businesses are small by the SBA size standard.
That's incredible. 98% of all businesses are small.
Right.
That's amazing.
And there are lots of them. So there's, in Massachusetts, there's over 600,000 small businesses. I'm responsible for the SBA programs here in the state. And there are 68 offices like mine across the United States and the territories, but I'm responsible for Massachusetts. We do have a branch out in Springfield. It's a one-person office that covers the 4 western Mass counties, but together with that branch manager and myself, we have 10 people covering the state. So not a lot of people when you figure the work that we're doing.
And so you mentioned the office in the western part of the state. Right. Where's the other office?
Yeah, so we're in the O'Neill Federal Building, so right in downtown Boston, next to the North Station.
Okay, and the SBA here in Massachusetts, does it look essentially the same as the Small Business Administration? across the rest of the country?
Sure. So any of the programs that we're talking about, it's similar in all the 68 different offices, but Massachusetts absolutely stands out in a couple different respects. And one, we stand out as one of the most productive offices in the entire country with helping small businesses with access to capital. And right now we're number one in the entire U.S. out of 68 offices with low-dollar loan approvals. Those are loans of $50,000 or less.
Wow.
So we really do shine when it comes to helping small businesses to get the loans. And I know Eli's going to talk about our
Excellent.
lending programs, but
Right.
it's important for people to know that we don't make the loans directly. What we do is we provide a guarantee to help the bank get to the yes decision.
And I think that is something we want to talk about a little bit
Absolutely.
more, because again, when people think the Small Business Administration, and in the federal government it's like alphabet soup. Everybody's got their acronym SBA. Most people do know SBA, but they think SBA and they think I can get a loan.
Right.
Or a grant.
Or a grant, and no grants, right?
No
No
grants.
grants. All right. So Eli, maybe this would be a good time to come to you. What type of loan opportunities are there?
Well, at the SBA, we truly feel that this is a phenomenal, public and private sector partnership, truly, because we provide guarantees, as Bob mentioned. So we are not a direct lender, with the exception of our disaster relief assistance program, which is when we become a direct lender. And Bob will be talking about that a little later. But for the most part, our two main programs, our 7A loan program and our 504 loan program, are guarantee programs. So we couldn't do those without the help of our partners, whether they're traditional banks, community banks, national banks, credit unions, alternative lenders, and certified development companies. So unless we have a third party involved in the process, the borrower cannot come directly to the SBA and ask for a guaranteed loan. The way it works, Diane, is that a small business owner that's seeking capital to either start or grow their business, they're going to go to their local bank or credit union or whatever institution that they're familiar with. And part of that process, the lenders are going to look at their financials, their business plan, whatever the situation may be, and they're going to look for lending is lending at the end of the day. So whether it's a small bank, whether it's a national bank, whether it's a credit union, they're going to look for the same variables. So if they feel that that request is not something that they can accommodate from their traditional conventional products, they're going to come to an agency like ours, the SBA, and look for a credit enhancement. So we truly get the banks to the yes answer. Mm-hmm. So whereas they would be unable to help that small business owner otherwise, they would come to us and we would guarantee anywhere between 50% of the loan.
Wow.
To in some instances 90% with the export program. So we provide a significant risk mitigator for those financial institutions and get them to say yes to the small business owner who's looking to get started or who's looking to grow and expand that
So then your
business.
primary partner when it comes to lending are the various banks, the credit unions and whatnot across the Commonwealth of
Yep.
Massachusetts. And how do you interact with them? What's your level, your relationship with them in terms of outreach on a regular basis?
Well, that's mainly the primary focus of my my role at the SBA. So I'm the lead lender relations specialist, and we're fortunate here in the state. As Bob mentioned, we've got over 140 lenders that work with our programs day in and day out. Very active lenders. We have close to 170 lenders in total, but active SBA participants, we've got over 140 banks, credit unions, and alternative lenders. And the interesting thing, which I did want to point out, is whereas in other parts of the country we see that banks and traditional lenders shy away from those small dollar loan requests, we excel here in the state. So, we saved the small business owners here in Massachusetts last year alone, during fiscal year 16, we saved them over $1.25 million from a fee savings incentive that we have. And because we provide, our banks provide those loans, those low dollar loans, they all qualified for that fee savings. And from a national perspective, Massachusetts being as small as we are, right? We got over 5.2% of that national fee savings
That's
incentive
incredible.
in the state, and as I mentioned, over $1.25 million saved to the small business community. So truly impressive.
But we're really lucky here in Massachusetts with Eli and Carlos Hernandez, who is the other person on the lender relations team. We do a tremendous amount of outreach and educating our lenders so that they know how to use our programs. And we provide a very high touch with these lenders, with them calling us, asking questions. How should we structure this deal? Is this eligible? We're having a glitch with this. We provide tremendous service, and that's why we get them keep coming back and back. But the SBA, over the years, we've streamlined our programs and our processes, making it much, much simpler for the bank and the small business in order to access the SBA loan programs.
I mean, obviously, you're number one in the country when it comes to lending. That's phenomenal. I know here in my own community of Waltham, it seems like there's a bank on every corner. Why wouldn't every bank, why wouldn't every lending institution be your partner? What are the challenges?
Well, for the most part, they're all partners of the SBA. So we have pretty much a signed agreement that they can offer SBA loan products. For
If they
I'd
choose
say
to.
99% of the lenders in the state have a signed agreement with the SBA.
Okay.
It's a matter of whether that fits their strategic approach for the particular year. Being familiar with the programs is a big issue. As Bob mentioned, we definitely provide a high touch approach, and we train our lenders in regular basis. But the lending industry is fascinating for many reasons, and one of those reasons is that. And I feel this is the same no matter what institution you look at. The SBA lending is usually something that either a bank is very good at, and they have a dedicated team and a department in cases,
Right.
or they give it to, in other instances, they give it to the individual that knows the most.
Okay.
And that individual eventually leaves the bank or gets promoted within the bank or goes to another competitor. And then you go back to, from a very active institution to, very inactive or not participating at all.
Now, you mentioned there is a circumstance where you do deal directly with regard to lending with the small business. Talk about that.
So there's actually, we have the non-alternative, or non-traditional, I should say, the alternative programs that are a direct lending program of the SBA. Those are the microloan funds that we have through nonprofits throughout the state. But that is a small portion of our volume overall. So last year we did about $1.4 million in direct loans to those nonprofits, who in turn would make microloans to small businesses that wouldn't otherwise qualify for traditional, funding sources. The other direct program we've got is that disaster relief assistance program, and I think Bob wants to talk about that in a little further detail, because that is, considering the recent.
That would be great. Certainly, there with the hurricanes and
Right.
whatnot.
A lot of people don't realize that the SBA, we're the disaster loan bank for the country. So when there are huge floods, hurricanes, and there's a presidential declaration, it means that the SBA can come in and to help not only to small businesses, but homeowners and renters in order to help them to recover. So what we do is we provide very low interest rate loans, long amortization periods in order to make the payments very affordable. Small businesses can get up to $2 million. Homeowners can get up to $200,000. Renters can get up to $40,000. And the money is to cover their uninsured losses. So the first thing that comes into play is, does the affected party have insurance? Insurance is the first resource that helps, but then oftentimes there are gaps, and the SBA provides the low interest rate loans in order to help communities to recover.
And do you have a cap on how much help you can give, or somebody needs it, they qualify, they get it?
If someone needs the money and there's a declaration, they need to be able to demonstrate some reasonable repayment ability. It's not a grant program; it is a loan. but the SBA has some more relaxed underwriting than we do with our normal loan programs because this is a recovery program. It's intended to try to help people to recover from these huge incidences that happen.
Sure. The Small Business Administration it's a lot unique in terms of your mission, but many federal agencies, they're funded, and then they carry out their mission, they do their work by sort of passing down from the federal government to the states and then to local communities grant money.
Right.
But the Small Business Administration, you don't get involved in grants at all, right?
We do have different grant programs.
Okay.
So, one of the grants which we're trying to let people know about right now, it's called a STEP grant.
Okay.
And that stands for State Trade Export Promotion. And so under that program, different states, they apply to the SBA for grant funding. So SBA recently announced all the awardees of STEP grants. Massachusetts this year is receiving $500,000 from the SBA. They put up a small cash match, and then they're now taking applications from small businesses who can get individual grants for up to $12,000. And
Wow.
that's to try to help them to either increase or expand their exporting activities.
And is that I was unaware of that. Is that a
Right.
program is that a grant program that you've had for a long time?
It comes out every year,
Okay.
and the states have to put together a proposal on how they want to deliver the money to small businesses and how much they want to apply for. But it's been around for several years now.
Excellent, excellent.
But that's just one example. There's some other grants, specialized grants. So one of them is called SBIR, Small Business Innovative Research. And so these can be larger grant dollars, and typically they're for businesses that are interested in helping the government address a problem and to do research and development in order to address that problem. So under SBIR, there's phase 1 grants, then there's phase 2, and hopefully it gets to phase 3 and commercialization.
So I'm like all federal agencies, you have a website and more information about these various programs is available. SBA.gov, is that?
SBA.gov, in order to get into state-specific websites, just put, for Massachusetts, put /MA on the back of it, and you'll get into the Massachusetts homepage with all of our Massachusetts-specific information.
Excellent, excellent. Nadine, I don't want you to feel neglected. You are responsible for working with businesses on getting government contracts.
That is correct, Diane.
So federal government contracts?
Federal government contracts specifically.
Okay.
So
Talk about that.
Thank you. Thank you. There are workshops that I have at the Small Business Administration Massachusetts office at 10 Causeway monthly called Opening Doors to Federal Government Contracting. And so that is where the small business owner, hopefully who have been in business for at least 2 years, 2 years is, less than 2 years is considered startup. So we want a small business to have been in business for at least 2 years to seriously consider government contracting, which is taking that business to the next level. So this is assuming that we've got a successful small business owner who's no longer considered a startup, and now they are wanting to expand their business, and we want to look at government contracting. There are certifications that the federal government has, which there are 2 SBA certifications, which is our 8A Business Development Program, which is a 9-year business development program for socially and economically disadvantaged small business owners. There is the Hub Zone program, which is for historically underutilized business zones, traditionally low income areas. However, I am a native Virginian, and in Virginia, a lot of military bases were closed, just like here in Massachusetts. And when military bases are closed in a geographical location, you're taking jobs and dollars out of those communities, and they sometimes become hub zones. They are reclassified as hub zones, where the small businesses in those communities are able to get contracts specifically targeted for those geographically based hub zones to bring steer money back into those communities. So for our certification programs, there's the SBA, which is 8A, as well as HubZone. And then there are the self-certifications for our small business owners, which are our woman-owned small business certification program, our service-disabled veteran-owned small business, as well as our small disadvantaged business. And their self-certifications, and all of that is spelled out online, as well as a monthly opening doors to federal government contracting that we also have there. Now, currently, with the disasters that Bob and Eli both talked about, when you are a small business and you self-certify, there is something called SAM, S-A-M, which is an acronym for Systems Awards Management. You self-certify yourself as a small business in the SAM database. The full contracting community of the federal government uses that database to look for contractors and vendors, suppliers, and small business owners. And right now in SAM, there is a disaster response repository. A small business owner is able to go into SAM and say that they want to be a part of disaster response. And FEMA and American Corps of Engineers is Army Corps of Engineers. Army Corps of Engineers are looking at some of those contractors, because not only are families out of business or out of homes in a disaster declared area, those small business owners are not up and running. So right now, government is looking for vendors, suppliers, small business owners, contractors who can come into those disaster declared communities based on their SAM registration for disaster response, to come in and help with debris pickup and providing supplies and reconstruction.
So the SAM program only kicks in
It's a
for
database.
disasters.
SAM is a self-certifying database. It is the portal to certify that you are in business and you want to do business with the government. SAM is the repository that is being used now for federal government to identify contractors who can come into those disaster declared areas to provide disaster response assistance.
You mentioned the other certification programs that the SBA does. So what's the distinction? You know, if somebody is certified as a small and minority or a women-owned business, if they're already certified along those lines, do they still have to go through this SAM registration process?
They must.
Okay.
As I indicated, SAM is used by the full federal government contracting community.
Okay.
That is how the contracting officers find these vendors and suppliers. There are set-asides for each of these different demographics of the women-owned, the veteran-owned, or the small disadvantaged business, for HUD zones and for 8A. SBA makes a recommendation overall to federal government that 23% of all federal dollars be targeted towards small businesses. And so we look at those different 5% to the service-disabled veteran-owned small business, 5% to the woman-owned small business, 3% for HUD zones, and then 3% to the small disadvantaged business. Now, individual agencies have other goals over and above. This is part of a report card that they have, and coming upon the end of the fiscal year, September 30th, federal agencies are hustling. I am in touch with them to make their goals by setting aside contracts for these small business owners who are woman-owned small business, or who are veteran-owned small business, or who are small disadvantaged businesses.
How's the federal government doing with sort of making that 23% goal?
I believe last year they exceeded it.
Good.
Yes.
See,
Yes.
I mean, I think most people I don't know if they really think about it, but the federal government is the largest employer. It is the largest consumer of goods and services. Every single thing that you can possibly imagine, the federal government procures.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And these certifications that the SBA has, they can be very powerful. And so for businesses that are out there who are interested in possibly diversifying their revenue base and want to consider trying to do business with the federal government, connect with the SBA, absolutely, so that we can explain these certification programs to you, how the whole thing works, and get you hopefully approved and to become part of our portfolio of firms.
What is the best way to connect with the SBA?
The best way is through the website, so sba.gov/MA to get into the Massachusetts link. One of the things that you'll find when you visit the SBA website, it'll ask if you want to sign up for email updates. Sign up for email updates. We have 2 newsletters that we put out every single month. One of them is our education calendar. It lists all of the big events and workshop opportunities that are happening across the entire state, not just with the SBA, but through our partners. And we definitely want to talk about our partners in a little bit, but the SCORE organization, our Women's Center, the Center for Women in Enterprise, the Small Business Development Centers, we're connected with these 3 different organizations providing workshops and one-on-one business advisory in order to help small businesses to have the knowledge and skills so that they can successfully run small businesses. But sign up for the email updates, absolutely.
Now, you mentioned those partners. Those are the 3 key partners that you're working with?
We do. And so, again, we're really lucky here in the Commonwealth, with our SCORE organization. SCORE.
Talk a little bit more about what that is.
Yeah, so SCORE is a volunteer organization. And again, it's nationwide, but I'm just going to talk about Massachusetts. There are 6 chapters in Massachusetts. We have over 300 mentors. It used to be that they were all retired former business owners, but currently right now probably half of the people who are mentors are still in business, running successful businesses, but they want to give back. And so of those 300, there are 70 mentors in Boston alone, and very proud that the Boston SCORE chapter was awarded by the SBA nationally as the National Chapter of the Year during Small Business Week last year. And,
nice.
They got this
Very,
huge
very nice.
trophy of, these are really dynamic, passionate, smart people, free of charge, doesn't cost you any money
Giving
to connect
back.
with folks. And our Women's Center, top notch. They operate in Central Mass, also in Boston, and they're also located down in Providence, New Hampshire, and Vermont. Just about every state has women's business centers to try to help women entrepreneurs. You don't have to be a female to take advantage of, our women's centers. Probably about 10% of their clients are men. But again, a great organization. The Small Business Development Center Network, in Massachusetts, we have 6 regional, SBDCs. We have 2 specialty SBDCs. They're affiliated with universities, and it's a little different model than SCORE in that these are full-time paid staff. But the services are provided to small businesses free of charge. And so for people who are thinking about starting a business, you should connect with all 3. Run your ideas of your plan by these folks. Try to build a consensus. Often, small businesses are risking everything in order to launch their business, and you want to make sure that you're doing the right things and that you're not setting yourself up for failure. So,
are there other mentoring opportunities available? Any other mentoring programs, or is that pretty much all through SCORE and as you've just described?
So it's through the SCORE organization, our Small Business Development Centers, and our Women's Center. We also do have a Veterans Business Outreach Center to try to help the military community also.
Excellent.
And also, we do have the All Small Mentor Protege, which is part of our government contracting.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, which is part of our government contracting. So there may be a very experienced small business owner who can be a mentor for a relatively new small business owner. So SBA came out last year with what is called the All Small Mentor Protege. So the 8A Business Development Program has always had a mentor protege program, and the Small Business Administration redesigned that for all small businesses to be able to mentor and partner based on what the needs may be in management or technical assistance or financial assistance, contracting assistance. As Bob was talking about international trade a few minutes ago, that is another area if you're looking to go into new markets and international trade. So we are there really to, as Eli talked about, the lending partners, to help a business to get started, to help a business to expand, to help a business to succeed, and even to get to exporting.
Wow.
So yes.
So in terms of, I mean, the opportunities are endless, right, for small businesses, but are we seeing any trends in terms of the types of businesses that are being supported here in Massachusetts? I mean, from a lending perspective, Eli.
Absolutely,
what are you seeing?
and I'll, I just want to add something to the government contracting before we get into that, because every time we do workshops, whether I work with the lenders directly or whether I work with borrowers, we do workshops for borrowers as well. I always tell folks that we are best known for capital access here in the state as an agency, but our best kept secret is our government contracting opportunities. And truly very lucrative, as you mentioned earlier, close to $500 billion is spent every year by the federal government on goods and services. And if a small business has either a product or a service they can offer to the federal government, definitely they should think government contracting. They should definitely reach out to us, to Nadine directly, to our staff in the office that deals with government contracting. Attend those opening doors, the federal contracting classes. Tremendous opportunity.
And I think that really is an important message to get out there to the small business community.
No doubt.
Dealing with the federal government can be a little bit overwhelming. I think you make every effort to try to make that easy. I think there's also, there are these myths that are out there. You need to know somebody in order to get a federal government contract. I mean, all kinds of myths about the federal government. People, when I was a federal employee, you need to know somebody to get a federal job. No, you don't. You need to put in an application.
That is correct.
You need to make that first touch. You need to figure out how the system works. But again, a lot of people might think, is it worth the red tape? Do I really want to, do this? But I'm hearing that you're trying to make it easy.
It's user friendly. It's very, very user friendly. Our website is user friendly. SBA.gov/Massachusetts. There are wonderful people in our office. We have a wonderful team. We're, as Bob said, we're a team of 10. We're small, but we are cohesive. We're mighty.
Nice.
Working from Pittsfield to the Cape with training and helping our small business owners and our partners to know what it is that we are doing and how we can help the small business owners. So there are no barriers to how we feel that we are able to affect the communities here in Massachusetts.
Excellent.
And as you indicated, the government buys everything from paper clips to missiles. And whatever the small business owner's product or service is, the only thing they need to do is to determine, is there a demand for that product or service? And then to further isolate which federal agencies are purchasing that product or service so that they are not talking to agencies that they do not need to talk to, and start to develop a relationship, a SAM profile, capability statements about how they can become a supplier or vendor for the federal government.
So as part of our Small Business Development Center here in Massachusetts, they have the Procurement Technical Assistance Center. It goes by PTAC. And their role is to help small businesses to get contracts. And so when you mentioned, do I need to know someone? Get to know the PTAC because they'll look at your profile, how you've set it up, they'll give you some suggestions, they'll help you to find matches and connections so that you can be more successful with contracting.
Yes.
Great.
So just going back to your original
Yes.
question about what industries are getting, financing from the SBA here in the state, just wanted to briefly just mention that the SBA does not select a particular or prefer a particular industry, everything is fair game. So as long as you get a bank, a credit union, right, to buy into your business idea, they can come to the SBA and they can ask for a credit enhancement from the SBA. And depending on what the bank is comfortable with. A lot of banks here in the state, they're comfortable with a 50% guarantee. We feel that a 50-50 partnership with a lender is fair game, right? So they've got as much at stake as the Small Business Administration, and we give our lenders a lot of delegated authority, we call it, as far as underwriting, approving these loans, making the decisions in-house. 80% of our loans are done under this program that has the 50% guarantee. It's called an SBA Express. So the word Express truly, lives up to its meaning, because a bank can turn these loans around in as little as a day or two.
Wow.
Right? So it's instantaneous approval. A lot of our banks also are preferred lenders. So a preferred lender can actually do the same thing as an express lender can do, with a higher guarantee, but all the way up for the program maximum of $5 million. So they can approve a loan in-house without the SBA's, not necessarily concurrence, but without our reviewing the entire loan file.
What's the average loan?
Well, here in the state, as I mentioned, we're fortunate. We really have some small dollar, loans put out to the industry. But looking at the most recent report, we had about 2,315 loans to be exact, right? I like numbers. So the average loan size is about $136,000.
Wow.
So we're really, and we measure the lender rankings by units of loans that go out there. So we want to see how many small businesses are really truly being affected. We don't look at dollars as much. And speaking of dollars, last year we had a record year when it comes to lending. Between all of our programs, we put $1 billion into the Massachusetts economy. So for a team of 10, right, that's truly impressive.
That really is impressive.
And I've told Bob, I said, we have earned ourselves some bragging rights.
Absolutely.
So we're going to throw that $1 billion out there time and again. And year to date, we're on pace to really meet those same criteria and those same statistics as last year.
That is amazing. So is there, I know you say the businesses are all over the place, all different kinds of businesses, but is there a business here in Massachusetts that you're really proud of how you've helped that business? You've got lots of success stories from what I can tell, but can you share one or two?
Sure. Can I go back just a
Sure,
little bit
you can.
as far as the types of businesses?
Yeah, okay.
So we help a lot of mom and pop and Main Street businesses. Historically, we've helped restaurants were our predominant industry. A lot of banks would not lend to a restaurant food service business unless it had an SBA guarantee. But over the last 3 years, construction and construction trades has been the primary beneficiary of SBA loans. And you look all across the Commonwealth, lots of construction taking place.
Yeah.
And, as coming out of the economic crisis, banks were extremely reluctant to lend to folks in construction and the construction trades. But luckily, with the help of our guarantee, we've been able to get capital to those businesses so that they can help build these projects. And these projects are huge job creators. So it's really important stuff. But
so in terms of when you go back, and obviously the numbers are so impressive, you've talked about Massachusetts really being number one and making all of its goals. What percentage of small businesses fail?
The stat that I always hear is that half of all businesses fail within 5 years. But one of the things that I have read recently that was put out by SBA's Office of Advocacy is that failure rate is going down.
Good.
Which is good. And,
of course.
And our partners are doing some tremendous work to try to make sure that we avoid those failures and that people are planning appropriately and taking the right steps. So it's good to see that failure rate coming down.
Absolutely.
And that is for startups, right, Bob?
Yeah.
So that is for startup
Right.
businesses, not necessarily existing
A
businesses.
small business that just needs a little bit extra help along the way. All right, so let's talk some success stories.
So it's really hard to just
pick.
pick one business. It really is, and I love going out and.
Is there something that most of our viewers might be familiar with, or?
Well, one business that comes to mind is Sal's Pizza here in Massachusetts,
There we
and
go.
Sal Lapoli.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so he got some help from the SBA, not only through our loan programs, but also through our disaster loan program. If you remember back
Yeah.
when there were the floods up in Lawrence, and his whole project
Wow.
was underwater up there, and tremendous impact. But I love talking about some of the big national names. So Under Armour is another
Okay.
one that comes to mind, where Kevin Plank got an SBA guaranteed loan pretty early on when he was trying to grow Under
Yeah.
Armour.
Wow.
And a lot of people don't think about Under Armour being a small business, and just you have to start someplace.
I was going to say most businesses start small.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
at the kitchen table, within the last week, I was out in Pittsfield visiting with Yummy Treasures. They were our micro enterprise of the year during last May for Small Business Week, and that's a business that sells beads all across the world.
Wow.
The number one country they sell to is Japan, but this is a business that was at her kitchen table in her garage, and then she continued to grow it, and she's opened up a warehouse and a retail store now. So now she has.
That's
pretty
impressive.
And then last week I was up in Haverhill visiting Battleground Coffee, a husband and wife team who started they brew their own, they roast their own coffee, but it's right in downtown Haverhill. The gentleman is a former Navy SEAL, and so trying to help
Yeah.
vets. And when I was visiting with him, he was talking about how hiring vets and what they do to support the military community. And so really happy that SBA, through our guarantee program, was able to help them to launch that business. And they're
Nice.
doing tremendous, and they're now looking at their second location. But it's really hard to pick any.
Yeah, that wasn't a fair question, but
Because each year there are thousands.
yeah.
And through our resource
That
partner
you're-
network, we counseled and trained over 25,000 people in Massachusetts alone.
Wow.
So there are lots and lots of
That's,
success stories.
25,000 people with a staff of 10?
Well, we're doing it with the SCORE organization,
through
with
your-
the
through
small
your
business
partners
development.
as well,
Yeah,
for
so
sure. Yeah.
they're all funded in
Yeah.
part by the SBA. We're very close and work very hand in hand with them. We wouldn't be able to achieve the numbers that we're doing without the great partner network that we have.
Excellent.
That's what makes it happen.
Any changes on the forefront? Any new programs that small businesses should be looking forward to, or just more lending, more contracting?
Well, as I mentioned, right, we are best known for our capital access programs, and this new fiscal year, whereas some agencies of the government got cut pretty significantly, the SBA did not get cut as far as programs go. So capital access will remain in full force. I mentioned earlier the savings, the fee savings that we experienced last year for small businesses and who benefited from that fee savings. This fiscal year, we are continuing with that. So an important fact to mention here for the audience is that the SBA, as currently the programs are run, is at a zero subsidy.
Wow.
So we are a subsidy neutral agency. So fees paid into the program do cover for the administration of this program, and it truly is an amazing program. Not because we're biased, and we're here to represent that today, but it is this fee savings and fee incentive that I mentioned. It is in place for small businesses. So in this new fiscal year, we are continuing with that fee savings and incentive for loans up to $125,000.
Wow.
So as I mentioned, our average loan size year to date was $136,000. Right? For us here in the state, we're going to continue to see significant savings.
And that's a lot higher than I guess I expected. And obviously, there are a lot of challenges that small businesses face when they're looking to start up a new company. It's nice to know that you can get that kind of support. I mean, I think small businesses, I think people out there thinking about starting a business, I think they know that they can get something, but that's a lot more than I thought.
And speaking of startup businesses, again, it is very interesting because for the most part, the number one reason why banks come to the SBA for a credit enhancement is it's an unproven track record with a startup. A startup, a change of ownership, which we're seeing a lot more of those. You know, a lot of baby boomers now looking, you know, to sell their practice or business, whatever the case may be. Change of ownership always is considered a startup.
Okay.
Right, so business that has not been in operations for more than 2 years is considered a startup. But again, you know, that's a misnomer that
Right,
a lot of
exactly,
folks, you know,
exactly.
don't truly realize,
Yeah,
right? So
right.
whenever there is a projections-based type of an approach to that repayment ability, right, the banks are going to look
right.
for, or in credit unions,
For
they're
that.
going to look for that credit enhancement, you know, from the SBA. But just going back to that fee savings again, right? We are the number one 7(a) lender in the nation out of all 68 district offices for loans under $50,000.
Okay.
So continuing with that trend
Yeah.
again, right? Most of those loans will qualify for that fee savings,
There we go.
right? So, and small businesses, you know, usually don't apply for a lot of debt. They usually start small,
Right.
as we mentioned, and you know, a lot of great names out there that you know have started with, you know, with the SBA's assistance, including Intel and Ben & Jerry's and Apple Computers and you name it. You know, so
All names our viewers are familiar with. For
That's
sure.
right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
For
They
sure.
were small businesses at one time.
Excellent.
So just a couple add-ons to what Eli mentioned. 23% of our loans go to new businesses, so businesses that are 2 years old or less. So yeah, SBA plays a very important role in helping those businesses to launch, and those are the job creators, the new businesses.
Absolutely. I mean, really the backbone of the economy, small businesses, for sure.
So another new change that just came out with the SBA is on our builder's line of credit. And this is a program that hadn't been utilized hardly at all across the entire country, but we made a big change where we're now going to allow the land component of those transactions to go from 20% all the way up to 33%. This is a big
Wow.
change. So
That's huge.
with that program, we're going to be able to help folks that build condominium projects or residential subdivisions or you know, land development, anything where the end product is for sale could be eligible for an SBA builder's line. And these go up to $5 million. And so we're going to be doing a heavy push on with the lenders to get them trained on the builder's line, to
Excellent.
make sure that they know about it. You know, we're constantly looking at ways to reach the banks, to market, and to let the public know about our programs and services.
Excellent.
And as Bob mentioned earlier, you know, whereas you see those cranes up everywhere you go here in the state, whether it's Springfield, Worcester, Boston, right? With this new program, we're really hopeful we're going to keep them, you know, still up and operational, not going back to warehouses. So definitely a great product, and we here in the Commonwealth, it's also worth mentioning that we wouldn't be, you know, the innovative state we're known for unless our number 2, you know, most active industry was the professional, scientific, and technical services industry. So, you know, whereas we've been known as the agency where startups and restaurants and accommodation industry, you know, was once upon a time the number 1 industry with the most volume. Things are changing a little bit here in the state, and definitely construction has been the second year in a row has been at the lead, and then the professional and scientific, you know, services.
Research and development
Yes.
is a big area as well.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
So.
You were asking about success stories,
Yeah.
and we had Victoria Bundock, was it?
Absolutely.
Who's a Burlington-based small businesses,
Okay.
IT, professional logistics, who's a woman-owned small business, was our Woman of the Year last year during the month of May, during Small Business Week. Every year during the month of May, we have Small Business Week when we select, is it about 15 categories for a small business person of the year, and she was our
Wow.
Woman of the Year. Has a vision impaired disability, and just absolutely amazing. With my 8A business development program, we have a very successful small business who I believe Tano has been in the program for about 3 years now. He has gone from cleaning toilets on the floors of Harvard University and from 3 employees, he went from there as a security guard at TSA, has a security guard IT business, now has about 53 employees, and just absolutely recently acquired a business and had a name change. And so there is so much pride in waking up each and every day and knowing that as a team that we are helping to make small business owners and help some dreams to come true.
Very nice. Excellent. We have covered an awful lot of ground. Is there anything that we haven't touched upon that you really, you want to share with our viewers today?
I just can't stress enough that everyone needs to sign up for email updates so that you can learn about all the different wonderful events that we put on to try to help you to network and to grow your business. We have an event coming up in October to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. It's going to be and all of our events are typically free, no cost. But they're all posted on our Massachusetts website, on our event calendar, but if you get the email updates, you'll get these blasts so that you can find out and don't miss out on some of these opportunities. We're going to be doing an export-focused matchmaker. That's going to be in December with the Massachusetts Export Center. We are a busy team.
Excellent. And there's always something going on.
Always.
There's always something going on. So again, really the best source of information on that initial touch is the website,
SBA.gov/MA.
Excellent.
And speaking of websites, just wanted to also mention that on the capital access side of things, we have a new program in place called Lender Match. So it is a wonderful tool where borrowers, instead of going from bank to bank or credit union to apply for a loan and basically have their credit pulled and provide all those financials to particular lenders, right? When they're in that early startup phase or whether they're looking for additional capital, they can actually go to our website again, right? So they can go to sba.gov/lender-match and they can enter their information, short survey of about 20 questions, thereabouts. And then instead of them going to different lenders, we will send that information to all participating lenders in the area, right? That they're looking to either start or expand their business. So lenders various lenders are going to get that information. They're going to look at it, without the personal data of the individual. And if they feel that fits their niche market or whatever it is that they're trying to grow, part of the portfolio they're trying to grow, then they will ask for additional information. So it wouldn't be just a cold from the lender to the small business, but at the same time it'd be something that they're willing to entertain.
Sure.
So it definitely works for both the borrowers and the lenders.
That's excellent. And how long has that program been available?
Believe it or not, it's been around for about 2 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, so, but we recently updated it. We called it Lender Match. We saw how much success that Match.com website has gotten. So we said, why don't we do this?
There you go.
But it has been around for a little bit of time, and a lot of great success stories from that we've heard.
Excellent.
Matching those borrowers and lenders together, and obviously there's been some requests that were not ultimately successful in obtaining capital, but without a doubt, it is a great program and definitely something I wanted to mention for the audience.
Great. Nadine, a final word?
I wanted to mention, Bob mentioned the Export Roundtable, and Bob mentioned the STEP grant. The deadline for the STEP grant is going to be September 29th, 2017. So an individual, again, able to go to our website, go to our International Trade Division, and they will see what the qualification and criteria is for that STEP grant to apply for those funds for trade shows and other things that they may be interested in for exporting.
Now, is that end of September date, is it the same time every year? Our shows tend to sort of run in a community. This show could conceivably run, for the next year in some communities. So is that just for this year?
It is for this year. Go on, Bob.
In my discussion with the Massachusetts Office of International Trade, they'll probably be extending that deadline out, and they have to get dollars out to the small businesses. So until they get enough applications and successfully award those grants, there should be opportunities. But again, connect with us, connect with the Massachusetts Export Center. The other thing that I really wanted to just mention quickly, a lot of people thinking about starting a business, they don't have the time to go to workshops during the day, so use our online learning platform, sba.gov/training, and lots of different modules and workshops, tools so that you can map out your competition.
And all of that is free?
It's all free.
Wonderful, wonderful, excellent. Well, thank you so much. So I certainly thank all of our guests from the Small Business Administration for being with us today to talk about the work that they do and how they assist the small business community through lending and through government contracts. I thank you for watching, and I hope that you will continue to join us as we feature other federal agencies on your federal government.